All right.
Hi guys, good to see you all again in our second day of practical Java web application development. So today we're going to talk about XHTML, which is sort of the language of the internet, I like to call it. If you remember from last time, we talked about basically when you go to request a web page, you have your browser that sends a request to some server, and then it sends back a web page. And this is what we're talking about today. The response you get back is going to be in XHTML. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what that standard is, why we have it, and then and learn a little bit about kind of what's the structure of it and what's the syntax of it. So first of all, we have to ask ourselves, why do we need a standard in the first place? Why can't we just say, send me whatever you want to say, however you want to say it, and I'll work it out? We're going to also ask ourselves, what are the challenges involved with sharing web content? Then finally, we're going to say, what is XHTML? What does it look like? How does it address these challenges? So, first question, do anyone know what this object is?
Tower of Babel.
The Tower of Babel. This is a computer science course, not a religion course, so I'm kind of hazy on the details. But essentially, if you have too many languages, it's impossible to communicate. And compounding the issues is that we have this whole ecosystem of browsers from you have Safari, Mozilla, whatever else is out there. And if they all have slightly different interpretations of what different things mean, then that gets messy. You can't control how your web page looks, that sort of thing. So the internet's pretty big. There are millions of content authors, and we need to have some sort of common language to tie everything together. Currently, or as of from the late 80s through the mid 90s, HTML was the standard, which is, does anyone know what that stands for? Yeah, hypertext markup language, which is fancy for documents that link to other documents. And that was fine, that works pretty well, but there are some shortcomings. It's not strictly regular, there are a lot of kind of weird rules for, in this case, it looks like this, except for when this applies and that sort of thing. And you've got what's called the presentation, which is how it looks tied up with the structure, which is kind of how the data is organized. And it makes things a little messy and makes it hard to work with. So, talk about. Okay, so we'll talk about what are the challenges involved in how XHTML is going to address them. So the first challenge is flexibility. You've got all sorts of different stuff on the web, right? You've got things like John's recipe page that he made in 1992 on his computer, and it's like just basically a table with a bunch of links to recipes on it. There's no interaction except saying, I want this page, and then you get it back. Then you have things like Google, where you want to be able to ask a question and get a response back. It's not really real-time interactive, but you're interacting with it, saying, give me this, and you do something like that. And now you're seeing things like Nebo, which if anyone's ever used it, is almost like a desktop application that runs in your browser that lets you use instant messaging files. You have a buddy list over there. Little chat windows. This thing is animated, so you have a little movie advertisement playing at the bottom. And it's kind of a very real-time application. So it's expensive and difficult to upgrade every single device that's on the internet. So you want to make sure that whatever standard you're using is very flexible and kind of future-proof. It's going to be able to be extended to support any number of applications down the road. Additionally, not every single website is this complicated. So you also want to make sure that the standard you're using works equally well at doing simple things as it does at doing complicated things. Second major challenge is efficient processing. This happy gentleman made a lot of money selling these things, and some of them are actually still out there running in this same form. There's a lot of old computers out there, and now more and more there are mobile devices that are also kind of low-powered that are out there. And everything needs to be able to use the internet these days. So you want to make sure that whatever standard you're using is also easy to work with, it's efficient. Even kind of low-powered computers can do a good job with it. And then finally, kind of the pragmatic problem is adoption. So how do you actually get people to use this thing? You have to have some sort of transition from what people are currently using to the new wonderful world of tomorrow. So to solve these problems, we have this language called XHTML. What it does is kind of takes the loosey-goosiness out of HTML to make it more standard. And kind of the relationship here is that XHTML is a subset of XML. XML is extensible markup language, which is kind of a general purpose language for representing pieces of data and how the pieces of data relate to each other. So some of you have probably seen XML before. Anyone? Maybe. Okay, one person. So we'll just do a quick review of XML and what that looks like. So as an example, we're going to show when you use the ISIS system, there's some pieces of data that you might want to view in your web page, or that the system uses internally to keep track of stuff. So let's take a look at this class and figure out sort of what an example of how you would store information about this class might look like in XML. So I guess the easiest way to do this would just say, what are some characteristics of this course that you can think of? Sure. Title?
Location.
And content.
So what was that again?
Officer's name and content.
Anything else?
Maybe the department. The schedule.
Activities.
Location. Oh, okay. You mean like the syllabus?
Like, yeah, the syllabus.
Sure. How about the roster? Okay. So I was planning to use that as part of my example. Okay. So I'll just pick a couple just to do. So in XML, you have basically two things. You have tags and attributes. A tag looks like a left angle bracket and then some name, let's say class. And then some set of attributes, like and each tag kind of starts, you have the name of the tag, and then a list of attributes, like title or whatever else. And then each tag is matched with a closing tag that says, okay, this is where the class ends. And then the way you represent relationships between pieces of data is you kind of nest them within here. So you might have a prerequisites tag. And then that might contain a list of prerequisite courses. So you might have prerequisite, the course number equals 101. Another prerequisite where the course number is 102, or whatever. And this is kind of a recursive structure, so you can have infinitely many levels of nesting. You can have a roster that has a bunch of student records, and each student record has their contact info and whatever else. So this is kind of the basic idea. Does that make sense at all? Okay, awesome, fantastic.